Hey guys, welcome back. In today's video we're taking a look at the highly anticipated FPA-4 from Rapido trains. Now, Rapido is a Canadian company, so there's a lot of Canadian schemes, including the Canadian National 54 scheme, that's the green scheme, the Canadian National 61 scheme, which is the noodle scheme, via Canadian National Black, via Canadian National Blue, just plain via. You've got the Grand Canyon Railway scheme. We've got a Napa Valley Wine Train scheme, which we're looking at today because I noticed a lot of folks from my Napa Valley Wine Train trip have kind of caught on to Napa Valley Wine Train stuff, and we've looked at some things here on the channel, so I chose this scheme. You've got the New York and Lake Erie, and then you've got an undecorated scheme. So all those schemes are going to be rolling out, or have rolled out, a few of them from Rapido trains. Again, let's talk about cost. The cost is becoming more and more important in model railroading, and the DC versions MSRP for $225 here in the US, $254.25 in Canada. And then the DCC versions, which have ESU LokSound, MSRP for $325 here in the US and $367.25 in Canada. So those are the prices. Let's go ahead and take a look at the actual locomotive and get started on this review right now. So I would say this is a standard unboxing, but Rapido's box is just really nice. They've got Canadian National locomotive on the front there. It's the FPA-4. They've just got details all the way around the box. They don't cheap out on the box at all. And you've got your actual item number 20530. The other locomotive you'll see running is 20529. Got a manual. They also don't skimp out on the manual. Just you got French on one side, native language of Canada, and English on the other here. And so you've got lots of information in there. If it's upside down, you've gone too far. It's time to turn it over and learn French. But you've got the functions, how to turn on the sound, how to operate in DC and DCC, how to remove the shell, install a decoder, etc., etc. Lots of cool features. There's a table of contents for quick glance if you want to see that. And then you've got an exploded parts diagram. That way if anything goes wrong, you can call them up and say, hey, this sprocket here, this widget, whatever, is number 71 and it fell off. I need to order it, or whatever the case is. Now to the actual locomotive. I think Napa Valley is one of the sharper schemes anyway because of the nice gold color to it. Let's go ahead and pull it out. You've got the slip sleeve. Got some really loud plastic. And you have the locomotive, which is the star of the show. Let's go ahead and zoom in, take a look at some detail. Now I usually tell you guys that I'm pulling the locomotive out of the box for the first time because that's the truth. This time I had actually taken this out of pure excitement and kind of played with it a little bit before doing the review. Even that said, there was no parts or broken pieces or anything, but it helped me get a little bit of a heads up on the review. You've got on the front here, you've got windshield wipers, you've got an LED operating headlight, you've got backlit number boards. You've got classification lights that operate in green and white. We'll get into that later. You've got the Napa Valley Wine Train logo on the front, nicely done. You got the beautiful paint scheme on this. Separately applied grab irons all over the front and the top of the locomotive. You got MU hoses, metal couplers here, just a lot of nice detail on the locomotive. As we turn it around to the side and we start looking at the cab, got the cab window sunshade in that nice gold color, matches the scheme of the locomotive. All the see-through grills, the Napa Valley Wine Train wording in the correct lettering and the actual correct font is along the side. You've got handrails, separately applied handrails for getting into the cab door and the access hatch here. You've got the bell up top. It's kind of zoomed in right now, but you can see that bell. Separately applied bell and horn there. Just a lot of nice detail on the locomotive. They go to a great length on underbody detail too. All that actual work that the Rapido people go into on the review is just quite amazing. If you look at the bottom, You've got frame members and pipes along the bottom, stuff that you wouldn't expect to see on the bottom of a locomotive, but they go to the additional steps of adding that truck detail and that underbody detail all along the edge there. You've got the Rapido stamped at the bottom of the fuel tank. A lot of detail on the fuel tank too. So, swinging it on around, got the back end, more MU hoses, and you've got the diaphragm here, crew access ladder, MU hoses, another metal coupler back there. Swinging around to the side, you've got the cab number, which is on the back of both sides. I believe, yep, both sides of the locomotive. You've got all more intake grills along the back here. Another view of the side of the locomotive. Now let's go to the top for a second. I gotta kind of cradle this, so I don't want to drop it. And zoom out a tad bit, but we'll take a look at the top. You've got the brake or the fan grill here. Got exhaust. You've got an ice skate antenna, the horn we talked about, the bell, lots of other features as well. You can see some latch detail and rivet detail along the side of this whole locomotive. Just a lot of detail that's crammed into the Rapido products, and I'd talk about that more if I had time, but in the essence of time, we've got a lot to cover. So let's go ahead and move on. We're going to go ahead and weigh this thing. My pull tester is down. I've got another one on order, but the actual weight is 405 grams, 14.3 ounces, 0.405 kilograms. So that gives you a good indication. Now we're going to go ahead and listen to some sounds. So let's go ahead and press F8, which turns on the sounds. Go and listen to the bell and horn, which is recorded off of a real FPA-4. Now you can actually press the F2 button, which is the horn button, very quickly. You don't have to worry about a short horn feature. It just really will respond very nicely to commands. So here's me just quickly pressing F2. So depending on how long you hold it is for how long the horn will play. F3 is what's called straight to 8. It's going to take you straight up to notch 8. So you'll hear it rev up. I'll turn that off now. So that takes you straight from notch 2 to notch 8. F4 is the steam generator. Turn that off. F5 is the Doppler horn, and I'll get it moving a little bit so you can hear it as it comes closer to the camera. Cool thing about the Doppler horn is that was recorded at a crossing with a real FPA-4 at about 80 miles an hour. So where some of the Dopplers are done not authentically, this was actually done authentically, so it's an authentic Doppler. I'm going to zoom in on the class lights because I want to show you the class lights. F9 is the white class lights. You see there? But if I switch to F10, you'll see them turn green. That's cool. That's a cool function because you've got dual colored class lights on a locomotive, which I don't know if it's a first, but it's very uncommon to see that much detail. So F11 is the brake. And it actually stops the locomotive, even if you're at a higher speed step. Like right now I've moved it all the way up to 126 and it's not doing anything. Let me drop it back down to, let's say, 8. And I'm going to take off F11 and the locomotive starts moving again until I stopped it just now. So that's 11. F12 puts it in switching mode, F18 sets and releases the brake, and F19 is the air release. We won't cover all that again because of time, but as you saw, the locomotive was moving fairly smoothly. This is one speed step here out of 126 on my MRC Prodigy Advanced system. However, I do want to say that there's something we can do to increase. I'm going to shut it down so you can hear that real quick. So now that you can hear me talk, you heard the shutdown sequence. There's something you can do to increase the accuracy of the decoder, the smoothness of the drive. It's called the awesome slow speed thingy. Yes, that's exactly what it's called. So this is used to automatically adjust the back EMF in most cases and gives you basically great slow speed performance. We're going to test this out and see if there's any difference in the actual performance. So what we actually have to do is be on the main, ops mode programming. So you're programming on the main. You got your locomotive set in forward mode, and you've got to have lots of room, which is not the case. So let me go ahead and reset this. So for those of you who can see it, the locomotive is way over there on the other side of my layout. We'll be doing a run by later. But this is called the awesome slow speed thingy. It tells you to give you all sorts of space, so I'm giving it some space here because it's a dead end just past the left of the camera as I'm building this new layout. But what we're going to do is program on the main, and we're going to go to the actual locomotive, and we've got to go to CV54, and we're going to set that to a value of 0. Okay, that's already sent to the main track. So now that that's done, you get out of the programming mode and you turn on the bell, which is F1. Probably need sound. Oop, and I went to turn on the bell and it already went crazy. So, just like the manual said, everything would take off as soon as I pressed F1. I had the sound off, so I thought I needed to turn it back on, but I didn't. And it really didn't take up that much space. I was giving it way more space than it needed. But now, we can kill the bell. And it's supposed to be an improved function. And boy is it, you can tell already. So I'm going to get it back around here so we can see. So now that we've done the awesome slow speed thingy, let's see how it works. Speed step 1. Following along even smoother than it was before. Speed step 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. So just, there's your brake sound, that's good. So overall, I was very impressed with that. It's a neat feature. Really great speed control. One thing I would make sure I do is it advises in the actual manual is to do that for each locomotive if you're running them in tandem, which we will be on a run by. And then also, you're going to want to do that if you have to do a factory reset for some reason. So really cool features of this locomotive, cool sounds. Let's go ahead and wrap this review up. Well guys, that wraps up the review of the Rapido FPA-4, but don't go anywhere because we're going to have a run by at the end of this video. I threw up a backdrop real fast so you can see some trains in action on my newly formed layout. Lots of progress still going on in this layout. I don't know how, but I've already got almost 200 pieces of rolling stock sitting out here, and I need to get it back off the table to finish up the work. But there's a few things I want to talk about in terms of this FPA-4. Folks, this locomotive and Rapido as a company is amazing. The manual is not only a manual, but it doubles up as a bit of comedy. There's lots of cool things, just funny little rants and jokes in here. It talks about all three of the female modelers in Canada, and it talks about, you know, funding for VIA. So overall, it's funny because the owner of Rapido is a funny guy, so he puts a lot of humor into the hobby, and that's what we need. We're all serious all the time, and we need a little bit of humor sometimes. So that's really cool. The product is outstanding. So he's not just some goofball making products that are horrible. These are great products, just smooth drive, great detail. One of those products that overall you can't really find anything wrong with. If I was on a rating system, I'd have to give it a 10 because there's nothing wrong from the operation of the decoder to the detail to the weight. They just covered it all really well. And then the MSRP thing I want to talk about real quick. I noticed comments on my videos about MSRP. Well, for $350, guys, MSRP is a price that's set by a manufacturer. It's not usually what you pay through dealers throughout the country or whatever. I usually put a link below to a dealer I find decent prices on, or I put a few dealers or whatever. But MSRP is not what you usually pay. If things start to go rare, you're probably going to pay that. But that's the price the manufacturer sets, and then the dealers usually set something below that. So with that said, guys, thanks for watching. Great product. I'll leave you with a run by the Napa Valley wine train with some passenger coaches. I'm going to use the word coaches for the Canadian folks and overseas folks, and we'll see you next time right here on my channel. Take care.